Alrighty. So, looks like we have audio. Got to fix my camera before I put it up this time. I'll do that. Oh no, it's already done. Cool. Excellent. Let's jump in. So today we're going to be looking at basically making a space from scratch, like the whole process, just so if anyone's new to the space, they can sort of understand what needs to be done to get into Mona space. So we'll be looking at getting the template, we'll be looking at installing that, and then we're going to be looking at sort of making a quick stage or an environment in Blender and putting that in to sort of create kind of a work environment, kind of like a cool WeWork space that's very professional but cool, to sort of give that atmosphere of a workplace environment, and then creating a stage with a canvas to be able to live stream or add images, of course, and once we get video, we'll get that in there as well. So lots of options in regards to what it could be used for. So we'll be looking at that. So let's jump in. Alrighty. So here we are, as always, in the Mona docs. So just to make sure that I've got the latest version, so every now and then when I'm starting a new space, I will make sure I download the latest template. But if this is your first time to Mona, we have our docs.monaverse.com with a lot of resources in order to make your space. But the first one is, of course, get started. So basically we need to install Unity 2020.3.18 F1. That's the one we need at the moment. Using Unity Hub. Make sure, this is super important, that you install the WebGL module when you do that. Otherwise, Mona will not work. There'll be an error in the console regarding WebGL, so make sure you add that. After that, we need the template, which we can get on the, what do you call it? On the thing. On the thing? So download the zip from GitHub. Put that wherever you need to. So I'm going to put that on my desktop because I make many of these. That said, once you've done that, you do need to unpack it. So I'm going to create a new folder here. Put in today's date, which is something 7th. And we're going to call this, let's go just stage. Stage. Just stage. We'll do that. It'll work for now. Now I'm going to reduce that. Grab this and now what I do, because I will usually make a lot of assets separate. So I keep that in my assets folder, and then I will make a builds folder. Now, once again, how you organize your files is up to you, but I generally find being very organized saves a lot of stress overall. Extract here. And then we've got our naming sim. So I just call it stage 01, and that'll do. Then you'll have that. Okay. Next up, we need our Unity. Yeah. Now, just note, if you have your install, you might have others, but once again, we need 2020.3.18. If you miss the WebGL install, you can use this, add modules, to make sure that WebGL build support is installed. So, super useful if you forget. Open. Then, what do we do? Then we go to builds, down to our build, double click that, should see this, and then go open. Now, when you open a template, there are some files and folders added. So the unzipped package is not the complete template. You have to open it in Unity to fill out some of the folder structures and all the rest of it. And then you're good. But it takes a while. The thing is also, this takes as long as it does the first time because it's setting up all the folders and stuff. But it's not too long. So we have that. Now, because it's the Mona template, we have this option here. We also have a few other buttons up here, which are very useful. We'll get to them later. But the first one we need is Mona load space scenes. Ta-da! Next, I would highly recommend, right mouse clicking Untitled, and then just go remove scene. And then you have a space. And if you wanted to, because I love showing how easy this is, just press playground up here. And then you'll have the playground files, which are in your stage, like the project file we had. So the builds, stage, exports, playground files. So that's where these are. Drag these onto here. And then we have this with one of our new VRM avatars coming out very soon. So that's very cool. Now, I'm going to press 4. We don't have any... I can't adjust this. I'll have to adjust this later. So that's cool. Looking forward to getting that in the world, though. So, yeah. So that's that. Okay. Now, small note, and this is pretty important. I get into the habit... Get rid of that. I get into the habit of deleting the playground files. Because sometimes, if you don't save or delete these, the playground files might not update. So usually saving or deleting will sort that problem out. So every time you press playground files, the files will update. So I've got that. All right. So basically we've gone through the next few steps. So open the template in Unity, load the Mona scenes, make sure to remove the untitled scene, and then we get to the creating your space. So that's it. That's the startup. So let's get to creating our space. Okay. So for that, I'm gonna cover this as well because this is a very common error that comes up. So in your space, you'll have 3 scenes: space, portals, and artifacts. Do not rename these. Do not modify them. Do not delete them. If you do, it will not work. In each of these, you'll have a game object: 1 space, 1 portals, and 1 artifacts. These also should not be renamed or deleted. Each one has a specific tag as well. So space has space, portals has portal layer, and artifacts has artifact layer. These also need to be there. And all of your assets need to be within these 3 assets. So all of your space needs to be in the space object. So say, for example, I had some assets in here. When I collapse it, this is incorrect. It will even tell you so with the error here. So make sure that all of your assets are in the space scene. When you collapse them, there's nothing. Portals are links to other minted spaces, other minted Mona spaces. So they go in the portals thing. And artifacts are kind of like hyperlinks to websites. It doesn't even need to be any particular website. It can be any website. Or canvases, which is what we're going to look at today. So those canvases and artifacts go in here. Alrighty. We'll leave the portal for now. So let's get to building a space. Now I use Blender. One, it's free. Two, it's amazing. So, use Blender. Of course, you can use other 3D creation tools. So, if you're very new to the space, Blender is a 3D creation tool. You make 3D assets. You can also rig and animate and do all sorts of things. Render, like as a 3D creation tool, it does all of the things and then some. Unity is a game engine, which is very different. So generally speaking, the usual approach to building a Mona space is creating your assets in a 3D creation tool, and there are a few. So Blender is the freest and, in my opinion, kind of the best. But yeah, that said, I never got used to Maya. So anyway, Blender, Maya, 3D Studio Max, 3D Coat, Rhino, and Revit. You can use them as long as you can export like an FBX. The catch with those two is they don't really pay attention to polygon count. And in a game engine, or in a game environment, especially a WebGL game environment, a lot of the resources are limited because you have to use a browser. Then there's also mobile and standalone VR, which we plan to add in the future, that are even more limited. Mobile because it's a small device that isn't very powerful, and VR because, even more so, because you need to run at 90 frames a second to have a comfortable experience, among other things. But yeah, so poly count and material count and how many objects and all of these things are very important in a game space, especially WebGL one. So we cover some of those tools in the docs under optimization and stuff like that. So I'll keep that in mind as I'm making this space. Okay. So just getting rid of a default light and camera. We have our famous default cube. So the next thing we need to do is find some cool reference, because we're making a space and reference is great. Now you could use AI tools if you wanted to. No. Well, no, let's do that. Why not? Discord. We do have. What do we have? Where is it? Inspiration. That's it. Neon's at it again. All right, let's go. So no, Neon. What do I imagine? I think it is. Imagine. Yep. Is it gonna know what WeWork is? I think what's another one's Commons. The Commons, business, environment, trendy, 8K because reasons, Octane to make it look pretty. What else is there? Stage. We need a stage. Presentation, business environment, trendy, Octane. Let's go. See what happens. Why not? So yeah, that's the thing. Otherwise, so I'll let that sit. Otherwise, let's do the same thing. So I kind of like the idea of WeWork, but I want to make it cooler. So let's start there and see how we go. Yeah, no, that's cool. How do we make that cooler though? This is nice. This sort of stuff. Lots of windows. Actually, so if we had, oh, that's kind of cool. So if we had like a canvas up here with a live stream and like a little like couch thing, like dug. I don't mind that actually. Dug around it with an open area with a raised stage. That's kind of cool. Okay. So let's have a look at this. That's interesting. This seems better. Let's do variations on the first one. Yes, please. Continue on. All right, so a bit of that. I like this step idea, so that could be the stage. What else do we have? This seems to be a common theme, like windows with brick. So we'll get a good brick texture, maybe. Although I'm starting to think that's a bit old now, so I wonder what the, like, next-gen shift might be. Because it's the metaverse and we can do what we want. In space! So I think material choice is pretty important. So yeah, I think there's a bit here to work with. And we also have like the very kind of industrial approach to it. I don't mind that though. That's kind of cool. Interesting lighting. Now with the lighting, we can do this like quite easily with light mapping. So we could do some really cool effects with, ooh, that's cool. With neon lights and spotlights. So I don't mind that, apart from the fact that it looks really cold. I would not like to work there. So I'm trying to make something. I'm designing this one, and this is important with the process of a lot of these sort of things. Is what are you actually trying to do, and who is your target market, and designing to that. So in my case, the thing I actually want to do is kind of go with something that's very comfortable. To reach more people. So we could go like super sci-fi or fantasy, that'd be cool, and create that like work environment. And I would love to work in that sort of environment, but in this case I actually want to make a sort of a mainstream, very comfortable one to go into for anyone, because they understand it like immediately. So we're going to do a bit of that. So, kind of, we work on the images we looked at, a little bit of the futurism, just to sort of make it as modern as possible. So let's look. So I use, unfortunately for you, I use a lot of hotkeys in Blender. So I'm going to go through some of the basics. So I can do that. Now, scale is an S. And this is move the mouse, right click to cancel. G is move. And R is rotate. Now, all of these are based sort of on the angle. So if I use the middle mouse click, I can rotate. If I hold shift and middle click, I can pan. So there's a lot of that. But say if I rotate from this angle, it will rotate it from this perspective. If I want to rotate on an axis, I can go press R, so rotate, X, and it will rotate on the X-axis, Y for the Y-axis, and Z for the Z-axis. So, that Blender, done. Congratulations, you're now a professional builder. Now, the default cube in Blender is 2 by 2 meters. So each of these grid points is 1 meter. If you use the little arrow up here, you get this, and you have your dimensions. So this is a 2 by 2 by 2 meter asset. So when you import this into Unity / Mono, the avatar will be about this size. So we've got that. Now, one note though, I'm going to go X-ray mode up here so I can select everything through it. If I scale it, you'll note, oh, why? So sometimes, okay, let's try this one. So if I move this one, oh, okay. So sometimes you will find that you'll scale or modify your asset in different ways. And these numbers will be different. These 1, 2, 3. So the thing to get around that, and this is very important, because otherwise, if you import this into Unity, the scale will be off, because it doesn't think it's one-to-one. So a very important and very common thing that I will do pretty much all the time, just to get into the habit of it, is get out of edit mode, and that's how you edit an asset. You can do this by pressing tab, like so. So go to object mode and go select your asset, and then Control A. This one I don't even know the where to find it. So Control A, and then just go. Well, the main one is scale, so it will reset those three. But a lot of the time I will also just do all transforms, and that'll be that. Okay. So let's get to it. Tab before edit mode, X-ray mode to see through. You've got these for different sort of ways to see the space. I usually use these two, and this. So, how big should a stage be? Let's go GY 10. Now, if you press Control, you can snap a bit. But because I did that without snapping it, I can do that. But if you want to, up in the transform, you can go global and then go 5. So that can be actually very accurate to the scale of what you want. So let's go -2. 2. Now we want scale Z. How big? Maybe there. GZ. There. Okay. Yeah, that's a nice stage. Now, go to edit with tab. Control R will add a edge loop. So Control R. Now, of course, all of these things are found somewhere. You have a lot of tools. Pretty sure they're up here. But because hotkeys are so hot, I've kind of forgotten where they all are. Hey, TJ Shin, how's it going? Thanks for jumping in. Cut and slide? I don't know. Use hotkeys. They're great. No. Okay. Control. Oh, there we go. So edge loop. Now the reason I'm doing that, then you click left and then go up and down. But I'm going to right click because I want it in the middle. And then these ones, vertex mode, edge mode, polygon, can be 1, 2, and 3. So beautiful. And then I'm going to extrude. Now I could use this one, extrude region. Down here you have your ability to set how much you want to extrude it. But once again, I will hotkey it with E. Now sometimes it'll be straight, but otherwise you can use the Z, X, and Y to choose exactly where you want it to go. So we want that to be about, because I'm specific, I'm going to do 40 centimeters. That works. I am a generalist is my favorite. So I know a little of everything. A little bit tech, a little bit artist, a little bit designer, a little bit modeler, a little bit everything. I would like to be more of an artist. That's the skills that I would like. Now, before I mentioned optimization is pretty important for a WebGL space. So one of those is poly counts. Now, these are small amounts, but I just get into the habit of doing this every opportunity I can because it's a good skill to have. So in this case, we have this whole line back here will never be seen, for one. So I could actually, no, I might use it. So I want to get rid of some of these polygons. So I'm going to grab that one. I'm going to hold shift to multi-select that one. And I'm going to select this last one here. Right mouse click. Merge vertices at last. And same again. 1, 2, 3. At last. So yeah, that gets rid of a few polygons. And in WebGL, every polygon counts. So that. So we have our stage. Now, let's make the stage a little bit more interesting. So I'm going to go to Edit Mode again, Tab. Control R for that one. How can we do this? Okay, I'm gonna right mouse click that. I'm gonna R this one and put that in the center as well. But the reason I'm doing this is because I want to move both of these up, GZ, to there. And grab both of these with Shift and press E. Now, the reason for that is because I want to do like a cool, what do you call it? Thing. Neon light, that's the one. Under that. Once again, optimization. At last. At last. At last. Now, here we have some left over. Now, a useful tool, especially when you have good edge loops, or reasonably good, is press delete. And then go dissolve edges. And then it will just get rid of them. And then I think this is more old habit, I don't know if we have to do this anymore. I will try to make all of my polygons at least quads or tris. Just a good habit to get into. So Alt click will select an edge. And once again, delete, dissolve edges. There we go. Excellent. We have our stage. All very cool. Now, the next thing we need to do is unwrap it. Now, unwrapping, how do you explain it? It's tricky just like, imagine a cube. And we want to put an image, a 2D image, on a 3D object. That's a good start. And then what we want to do is tell Blender where we want the image on the 3D object. So we basically have to unwrap the object into a 2D shape so it knows what to do. Blender has some useful tools for that. So we can do that. So a simple example would be if you had a cube, you have that sort of like cube thing when you unfold it, kind of like our origami. So we're going to be doing that the opposite direction. Now for that, we go to UV editing. The stream's not so clear? Interesting. Don't know how to fix that, sorry. Hopefully I make sense. Listen to my voice and watch the 3 pixels. Okay. So, UV editing. Here. Go to edit mode. Now the thing with Blender, and this is good but sometimes confusing, is where you are in the space will change what happens. So if I press tab over here, nothing happens. If I press tab over here, nothing happens. That happens. So it's very context heavy. Now, for most of our assets, we have this, right? So you can already see that it's kind of unwrapped, but it's not. I don't think it's not remotely correct because we've edited it and done some stuff. So the easiest tool when beginning is press UV and go Smart UV Project. Go. And there you have it. Now notice, this is excellent. Is this it? Yes. Excellent. Fantastic. So notice how these ones here are like basically squares. Which is not great, because that would not look good if you put a texture on it, because that's incorrect. So this comes back to what I was talking about at the beginning, where you have scale, scale, and scale. Now, I don't know what happened for this particular thing, but we need to make this 1, 1, 1. So once again, object mode, select the tool, Control A, all transforms, 1, 1, 1. So when we select all of this again, with X-ray on, we can go Smart UV Project, and then it'll fill it nice and neat in here. Now there are of course many other tools. If I wanted to go a little bit deep dive, optional, but deep dive, is I could sort of select, and once again I'm holding Alt and Shift to multi-select and edge loop select, and then go mark seam. Let's do this one because this one's fun. Undo that, whatever that was. Mark seam. I think I just enjoyed doing this one because it's cool. So mark seam. So we have that. And then we can go UV unwrap, and then it will have like one thing, which is quite nice because, like, say if it looped any of those in a different way, like this will be kind of a cool approach to it. So I actually like that. Actually, I'm gonna keep it there. Okay, so we have a stage now. Once again, polycounts count. So I'm gonna get rid of the base if I can find it. There it is. We'll never see that one. So I'm going to delete and go faces. I'm going to keep the sides for now because maybe I want to walk around those sides. Alright. Let's try this. So I'm going to extrude this. How much? Maybe 0.25. I'm going to extrude this. 2.5? 3. Most avatars are 2. Want it a little bit? 2.75, I think, would be a good start. Yeah, that looks good. Once again, dink, dink, dink. Now, this one's interesting. I could reduce the poly count, but I actually want this object to maybe have a different texture than this asset. So I'm going to split these two, I think. Now, because it's all lined up perfectly, that's great. But I'm going to right mouse click and go separate selection. That's done. So we can just clean this one up. Any questions in the chat, feel free to ask, by the way. Okay. Do we want to go behind here? Maybe. So I'm going to keep that back wall, just in case. The bottom won't have a polygon. That's great. Once again, we need to do some tweaks. So once, just because I like it, let's put it down the bottom. Now the seam Because that's a gap, doesn't need one. The seam is best put in places that it won't be seen. Now I want these to be the same scale, so I can grab all the polygons. Yeah. Go UV and then go unwrap. Like so. Now, a useful tool, sometimes, is if I want to select something here and see where it is. This is a scale issue. So as you can see, this might not be correct, because it's tiny. So let's fix that one more time. Control A, all transforms. Unwrap. Are you being weird, Blender? Interesting. Occasionally, things won't work as planned. So, for that, basically I'm just going to manually do it. So once again, edit, unwrap, that's fine. That's cool. Now, I don't really care about where it is. It's all about the scale. Because when we go to get our assets or textures, we just want it to tile correctly. So this will be wood, this will be white maybe. That works. All right. Now, what else do we need? Now, I actually have some microphones in another space. So I can put a microphone up there. No one uses microphones on stages anymore. But maybe not. Okay, what else do we want to do? Let's go to layout. Let's get a feel for this space. So I'm gonna make this big. Let's say 40 meters. Yeah, I think 40 meters is a good start. There. GX, put that. I kind of want to go to behind it. So you can hang behind the stage. That'd be cool. Yeah, all right. Let's grab some walls. I kind of want a two. I want like a balcony around this sort of space. So for that, what I'm going to do is grab all of these. Press E to extrude. Nope. I'm going to do this one. New tool, inset faces. Oh, that does a bevel? Oh, it does. How did I even do that? Ah, that's cool. I didn't even know that one. Okay. Interesting one. Education for me as well. So if you have inset, now of course this works with I. All of these will sort of cover the shortcuts as well. So if you look at the bottom there, Control B. Now UTJ might be able to see it. This is what you were talking about. So on these though, it has like E. It has the shortcuts. So news to me. If you're using inset and you just use left click, you'll inset it. But if you hold Control, you'll go up and down, which is actually quite useful. Not that I want to, but you can. Now, the reason I was doing that is because I was hoping to snap. So learning things to break things by breaking things is an excellent technique. Let's go 0.2 for that one. Which isn't accurate, I don't think. Is it? Which one's wrong? Ah, the stage is wrong. Okay, that's cool. GX. Oops, want to grab both of them. GX. Ah, that's because of the... Nope, I'm going to leave that because I want that to be part of the floor. That's cool. All right, next. The evolutionary process of building stuff. Now, the reason I did it like that is because if I go Shift D, I will duplicate it. Press Z, will go up and down. And I want that to be 2.5, 3. Global 4. Global 3. Thank you. Okay. Now, the next thing we need to do is we need some depth in that one. So that one's going to be an E. And make that 0.25. That can be the standard depth of everything, I think. Okay, cool. Now, we're going to need some pillars, but we'll worry about that later. We do need some walls. Do we want windows? Because that does seem to be a vibe. The problem with windows in metaverse space is, like, it implies that you need to have environments outside it, and environments that you can't interact or really see, like it's purely a visual, is very expensive. So I'm wondering if there's a interesting way we could just have walls for now. Let's leave it for now, and we'll come back to that. How many? E, Z. So notice this one I can move it sort of wherever. So if I just press Z, I can set it to exactly where I want it to be. Cool. Let's go E to extrude, right mouse click to stop, S to scale down to that, which is what we want. Excellent. Now I kind of want a cool, really open light environment. I think that'll be kind of important. So let's do E, Z. Be 6.25. Keep the 2 5s as the standard. Yep, that's what we want. Now, if that was local, I could just go 0.25, so there's different pros to that. Now, over here, this is where the ceiling would be, but you will never see it, so we're not going to make that part. So that's pretty important. And I'm going to sort of do a cool, like, terrarium, I guess? Like, overhang thing somehow. Not sure what a cool idea would that be. I got one idea. So let's go Control R. Yeah, that. Press scroll up and you'll add edge loops. So you can add quite a lot if you want. So I want 2. Yeah. Same over here. 2. Left click. Yep. Alt left click for edge loop selection. And then we're going to flatten this one. So to do that, I'm going to go S for scale, X. No, this will be a Y. You can see the green. You might be able to see the green. And then go 0. S, Y, 0. And return to lock that in. S, Y, 0. Bleh. S, X, 0. S, X, 0. And then we can sort of scale those down, because that'll be cool. SX, holding control, about 2 meters. That works. Dunk. Scale Y. Yep. Dink, 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 dink. Okay. Now, the reason for this, I don't want all of this, but what I do want is for these two. Now, how am I going to... I think I can bridge those two. Can I bridge that? What is it? Oh, there was... What? Bridge faces. That's one. Now, maybe there's a better way to do this, but I'm just going to do that again, and then kind of, I don't know, clean that up somehow. Could even just leave it, to be honest. Save the polygons. But, and this is the thing, probably in Blender actually, but also in Unity especially, sometimes you'll have, if you have two polygons that are like overlapping, like that, yeah, there we go. You can kind of see that they fight for the front. And as cool as polygon fighting, poly fighting, Z fighting sounds, it's not. So don't do it. So for that, we're gonna have to clean it up. So for that, we need Control R, add a couple, Control R, add a couple, scale that way. So I'm just gonna eyeball this one, unfortunately. Yep. I can get rid of all of these. And then we can just grab all of those. All of those. X-ray's not on. All of those. And then go merge vertices. Right mouse click. By distance. None there, because that is super small to start. So let's start with 0.1. Too many. 0.01. 8. That's what we want. Cool. And then we can close this off again. So another tool, add this to the growing list, is select 2 and press F. That'll close that off. Problem is, this is not, I don't think this is there by default. So for this one, you want Edit, Preferences, Add-ons, if you need it, and then go in here and go F2. Press F mesh 2, and then turn this on. So this does some cool stuff. Extends the make edge face functionality, edit mode F, so you can sort of do stuff. So that's really useful. So yeah, highly recommended. F2. And then we have that. Okay, so now that we have that, and we have these, and I might keep that for a different material actually, because I don't mind that. Okay. So in this case, what we're going to be doing is actually using different materials on different polygons eventually. The catch with this though, and this is just something to keep in mind, every material is a draw call. Every different material is a draw call in Unity. And draw calls are kind of quite expensive in regards to processing and stuff. So if I kind of had 3 different objects with the same material, Unity will actually kind of clean that up. But if I had one object that had 3 materials, then that will be 3 draw calls. So ideally, you want to figure out ways to reduce the amount of material in your space. So game development is always a balance between optimization and cool or style, I guess you could say. So sort of trying to get curves to look as curvy as possible, but limited polygon count is half the fun. A bit of a challenge, but it's definitely a process. And it depends on what it is. So this space is going to be very big. So 3 materials for this whole size is a reasonable amount of materials. But if this was like a character, well, yeah, a character. If this was a character and it had 3 materials, that's too many materials for a character. You can do it in less. And with our VRMs, because we're aiming for mobile eventually, so if someone buys a VRM, then we want it to go everywhere. And there's a lot of metaverses happening. So we kind of have very limited requirements if you want to put it on the marketplace so that people can use it wherever they go for the moment. So yeah, there's a whole field of study in regards to optimizing spaces. So that is 100% a thing. So keep that in mind. You learn optimization as you go. If you're using like things like Unreal, and this is where it's getting a bit interesting, because like Unreal, especially 5.1 and all the rest of it, is getting to the point where poly count, at least, doesn't matter anymore. Like you can make spaces and it just figures it out, and it's nuts. That said, we are not using Unreal. We're using, and it's not even a Unity thing, because Unity can do similar, or will soon. But in WebGL, we're going back a couple of years on its ability to handle everything. So yeah. All right. So let's look at this. So let's get some of the what do you call it? Some of the material work in there. But first we need, once again, to unwrap it. So this is all overlapping itself. And it might be okay. But first we've got a 20 scale, so that's wrong. Control A, all transforms. How's that one going? Yeah, those are good. So we can do that now. Select all of it. And in this case, I'm just going to go Smart UV Project. There we go. Now, if I'm tiling a texture, whatever that texture is, I can make this as big or small as I want to adjust the scale of the, what do you call it? The texture on that. The thing is also I can scale in Unity as well. So I can scale it here or scale it in Unity with the materials. Or I can figure out both of them and apply it in Unity and see what the result looks like and adjust on either side. So lots of different approaches to everything. But what do we need? So we need kind of that effect. These ones, maybe 2. Yeah, let's go 2. All right, so we have our map. That's fine. Go to our material. Now, as it stands, the scene has no materials yet because we've just got that and that. So we're going to get some new ones. So let's name them properly. So what I'm thinking... I'm going to try this because I haven't actually used this idea before. So I'm going to use secondary, new, primary color. And this might actually be an interesting approach in regards to sort of designing a space, because color and style and detail kind of play into these 3 different approaches. So I've just thought of it, and now I've thought of it, I really like it. So I'm going to play with this idea. So your primary, secondary, and tertiary colors. Now, for the sake of argument, I'm going to do a bit of research. And do palette primary, secondary, tertiary colors. And see what they come up with. Nice ones. Give me nice ones. Pretty nice. Oh, I'll show you what I'm looking at. Just colors, man. Those three. Ah, this is what I want. This is cool. Let's do that. I need to improve my color theory. Because it is very important. Okay, so like this is primary colors, secondary colors, tertiary colors. So things that bring your attention, things that are neutral, and things that like don't care about. Give me an example. Okay, so it's sort of like faded, desaturated. I want more examples though. No, I don't want to learn color theory. I want you to just give me the answer. Okay, fine. So, primary color. Let's do... I don't know. Like blue. Secondary. Purple. More desaturated. There we go. And tertiary. Let's go sort of deeper purple, but very desaturated there. Well, we'll give it a shot. Yeah. E.g., they are different. That's all that matters. So we have our three. Now, this case, we go to this mode. So I'm going to make everything tertiary. Sure. And then I'm going to go to Polygon mode, or press 3, and select the assets I'm looking at. Now note, the dot is kind of the target with a lot of these things. Cool. I'm gonna do the top. I'll keep the bottom sort of something else. So that works. Do we want the edge? No, I think that's it. Cool. Let's go. Secondary. And then just go assign. Yeah, all right. Kind of what we want. We'll tweak as we go. Now, once again, we kind of want clear. Now, this doesn't matter actually. Like, it's not going to be like we can change it in Unity. But once again, I'm going to kind of have my materials here, so I can sort of start getting a vibe of the space. So I'm just going to remove that, and let's change that one to wood, so it's like maybe a bit of a brown. Yeah, fine. Okay. The space. All right. So that's 1 hour. We've sort of got an introduction to setting up Emona space. We've done a quick outline of an environment. with 3 assets here. So what I'm going to do for reasons is I'm actually going to move this one to the center like that and go all transforms again, just so the pivot point is in the middle. So when I rotate it well, I'll show you. Now I want these two, even though it's 2 objects, I want them to be the same object in Unity. So I'm going to do all transforms on that one, once again, to be in the pivot point so I can rotate it there. So let's export these. So, export, FBX. We go to our builds, stage 1, assets, add your art here, models. Well, let's go, what are we going to call it? This is the building, so main area. Put null 1, just in case I have a second main area. I also recommend using selected objects up here, so it's this, not the stage, and cameras and other stuff if you have them. Now, another thing I've found, once again, Blender occasionally, not very often actually, but occasionally will not do things you want it to. So if you're not using animation or armature, like a rig or a skeleton, if you will, which I'm not, I will apply the transform here as well. Like it does come up with a warning and stuff like that, but occasionally this will fix one small problem that comes up occasionally. So I get into the habit of that as well. Export FBX. FBX is recommended by Unity. It does also accept Blender and .obj, but FBX is generally recommended. So once again, export FBX. And this is the stage. There, go. All right, that's it for Blender. Let's go back here. Now, as you'll know, and I'll go through that again because that's like the hierarchies. It's a choice, right? Like a lot of this isn't important, but I do find it a bit better to keep things organized. So once again, you've got the project file. All of this doesn't matter. Occasionally you'll use exports for the playground files, but then assets is where your stuff is. All the .meta is a Unity thing, so that's not important. Basically every file that you create or import or whatever will have a .meta file because it's figuring itself out. So you got all that. Now generally, I recommend putting your assets in add your art here. Mona assets had some canvas and stuff. We'll get to that in a second, but your stuff goes in add your art here. And we have some folders. You can add them, you can delete them, you can do whatever you want. But I generally try and keep everything pretty organized. It'll have them in there because when I go here, everything's really organized. So what we're going to do is I'm going to get rid of the floor because we have our own floor. Now notice how the spawn points go red. That's because there's nothing to land on. Spawn points will go red if there's nothing to land on or they're inside another collider or bounding box. So yeah, we'll get to that in a sec because we need to make them. So let's drag our main area in there. Good size, I think. That's pretty nice. We also have our stage, so let's drag that in there as well. And let's move that kind of where we planned. Now, notice the Z fighting. I'm going to have to clean that up. But that looks pretty good. I like that. I do find that materials do... Like these are the materials that come in with Blender. You can do it, and I think there are add-ons that make it a lot easier. I don't use them because I usually make my materials in Unity, because then I have access to all of the Unity things. So we'll look at some examples now. So let's go... Oh yeah, so let's do a quick rundown of Unity. Right mouse click, create. material. So let's go wood, for example. Now for wood, I'm actually going to pull up... Actually, we have a resource for this one. So let's do that. If we go to the resources category and go general resources and textures, we can use these. Now, these are open source, CC0, I forget exactly what it is, assets that you can use and download and do cool stuff. So if we want a wood, lots of wood. We can grab one. That's interesting. Cool. I want that because it looks cool. Maybe. Oh, it'll do. Where is it? How do we get it again? So each of these pages are a little bit interesting. Here we go. Is that it? Or is that an ad? WinZip drive update. I want that. Where is it? Okay, I don't like this one anymore. Let's try this one. This one. I like this one. Much better. Okay. What's a cool one for people to stand on? They don't have that much wood. That's surprising. That said, these are all the woods. You don't really need more. Trying to lean in towards this one. Let's do this. Okay, so we want 2K. Make sure that your textures are no bigger than 2K. The skybox, it can be 4K maybe, but that's still like super big in file size. And in Mona, you have 180 meg to play with. So textures are a big part of that. So I do recommend limiting your texture use if possible. So I'm going to start with 2K and I maybe downgrade it in Unity because you can do that. So let's go download and see what happens. So save. Now I'm going to put this in the assets folder because I have to unzip it and do all that sort of stuff. So let's do that. Assets. Actually, no, let's do downloads. Thank you. Open. There we go. That's what we want. Okay. So let's move that back over here because it may be useful later. Put that over here. Now, another option, and we'll get to that in a sec as well, is the AI tool in Unity. So we actually have that. Focus. One moment. So we want the wood base color, the normal. Maybe this? We'll give it a shot. And you can just drag and drop into Unity and they'll be added. Now notice this one will have issues because the texture type is default. And we want that to be normal map. That said, the short way is drag this into albedo or diffuse, which is just color. Grab this into the normal, which is here, and it'll have fixed now. And that'll therefore update that for you. So that's the way I normally do it. I don't know if this is going to work. Yeah, a bit too shiny. Move it down a bit. Yeah, that's cool. All right, so we have our wood. Now you can drag and drop. Now notice this is the tile. So we've got that. Now that normal map, it's a bit too big. So as I was saying, with UV maps, you can edit it in Blender or you can edit it here. If I want to edit it here, I can go to tiling and just go 10. 7. 6. 6 is good. Now the problem here though is this is going the wrong way. So that's going that way. Now the only thing, you can change the offset in here. So I can move it. You could also animate that if you wanted to. That'd be kind of cool. But the rotation, you have to do that in Blender. So I'm going to go over here and do that just quickly now. So let's have a look. Which one? So all the front needs to change. And the side also needs to change. So let's go to UV editing. And basically what we want to do is press rotate over here and rotate. Now I don't need to put it in because it's a tileable texture, so I don't have to worry about that. So I'm just going to put it up there to make it neat. So as noted, I could scale it like that. But I get the feeling that that tile texture is actually sort of going to be a bit big. So tiling it is probably, if I'm going to use it in other textures, I can use that as the baseline. So I'm just going to save that. Once again, both of these are the same asset. So I'm going to export those, FBX, and stage. All the settings stay from the last time, export, and ta-da. Don't like the color. Two things we could do. We could tweak it here. So this will be added with the color that you add. And to be honest, I actually don't mind that at all. Yeah, all right. Now, while we're at it, let's have a look at this. So 2048 is very big, especially for 3 textures. We might kind of need it for the normal because that's like a really high detail thing. But for the wood, probably not. So what we can do, go to the texture, not the material, texture. And up here, you'll have the settings. So I want to change this to maybe 1024 and go apply. Now notice how nothing changed. But we also changed the file size. So let's see if we can actually get away with a smaller one. Okay, so there's a small change there. But because the normal map is so high, it's less obvious, actually. So I might pump that up to 1024 again. But with the normal map, I'm going to get that down. Yeah, so you can sort of see it gets a bit fuzzy. That said... It's a really big file size. So yeah, added 4 meg. Now, of course, I think Unity will optimize it a little bit. Like, it'll scrunch it down a bit. And you can also use crunch compression. So that changes the file size, but not optimize anything else. So it's purely a file size thing. So the end result is you're still going to be loading a 2048 image, but the file size will be smaller. So crunch compression is very useful for file size, but I'll worry about that later. So let's do this. I'm going to pump this down to 1024. The height map I'm going to put down to 512 because that's a very subtle effect. But the thing is, what I want to do also is that normal map is a little bit too much. So I'm actually going to put this down to 0.5. That's more subtle. And that's perfect. So We have all 1024s, a 512, and a 1024. So those three textures are smaller than one 2K texture. And looks good. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. But, and this is the thing, this is kind of a hero asset in a way, because it's the main stage. So if someone's going to be up here talking, this needs to look really good. So a consideration might be to, yeah, keep this at high quality, because it's an important asset. But if this was like a wooden vase in the corner that is there but never seen, then I would probably make all of these like 512 textures. So yeah, that's some of the thinking that goes in regards to the texture work. Anyway, I got to clean that up. Let's do that because that's going to bother me. Let's go back to layout because that's a bit easy to see. This mode. We have global, so where's that going? It's going to be a 3. Perfect. Now, because that's on the wall, I can actually get rid of that polygon. Never to be seen again. And then export one more time. And the thing I do like about Unity a lot is as soon as you overwrite the asset, it updates in Unity. So you can sort of bounce between two programs really quickly. Like so. No fighting. Cool. All right. Let's do this. Now, if I wanted to, I can drag this onto our just different things. Like so. Kind of like that. And maybe a tile here. So let's go to some cool tiles, and then that'll be kind of it for this sort of stuff. Yeah. Ooh, stone and wood. Yeah. Marble floors. Wooden plates. Okay, what else we got? Concrete and wood. Concrete and wood. Shiny concrete wood. Nah. Ground. Food. Yes. Cornflakes. Rock and stuff. That'd be kind of interesting. Leaves, marble. Marble and wood. Okay, let's go back to our reference. Wood. It's all wood. Everything's wood. Oh, it's got some interesting tiles there. Let's see what patterns. Nope. Nope. Paving. No. 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 Tiles. This one. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Come to the right place. You want that in gray? That'd be kind of cool. There's one over here. When you look at this, that's exactly what they have. So could just copy them. Um, Interesting. A lot of interesting options, but I think I'll go with sort of a simpler one. Hmm. See, I don't mind this blue, actually. That's kind of cool. That's nice. I'm thinking this one. Let's do this one. Once again, 2K. And we can scale it down. Or if you wanted to, of course, you could just go 1K. To sort of force you to keep as small as possible. But I'll keep 2K. It goes to downloads. Go to downloads. Unzip. And then pull up Unity. Drag and drop. Okay. We need... I pretty much never recommend using ambient occlusion. Doesn't really add that much to it, and it is another file size, so I don't recommend that one. But normal, and we want it to be... The issue with these sort of things a lot of the time is it will use roughness, and Unity standard shader uses smoothness. So what I could do, and probably will do, is drag this in, because it'll have the detail, and then go into Photoshop and invert it. So black, dark colors is light, and light is dark, and that will sort of fix that. Oh, those weren't even put on the thing. Oops. There we go. Okay. Next, color. Let's just go tiles, dark blue. And once again, drag these in. So we have that one. It's roughness, so we're going to do that one. And, nope. This one. Normal. Once again, fix now. If you want to see things different, you can sort of play with this little button here. The tile is too high, so let's go 1, 1. There we go. Okay, that's kind of nice. Ah. Let's make that back up to 6. 10. 20. Yeah. Cool. And let's do one more. This one I'm just going to do create material because I want to make this just white tile. So matte white. And let's put, yeah, let's do this because that might be fun. Let's put the roughness on this one as well, because why not? I'm going to put this down a bit, actually. So put it up to about 0.6. No, 0.5. Yeah, there we go. I'm going to do that with the dark blue as well. Oh, it already is. Okay. That makes sense. So this is not matte anymore. This is tiles. There. There. And there. Again, that's a 20 and a 20. Maybe even more. What? That'll do. Okay, cool. All right, now we want the light to be facing the right direction. So at the moment, it's sort of like going that way, but we want the stage to be the key. Now I could go very like kind of boring and do that, but I'm actually going to go kind of there. Yeah, so it's very much a case of like something interesting. Like I could make it flat, like these sort of things, but there's a difference between, or a good thing to balance with like any level design, a balance between sort of And this comes back to the primary, secondary, and tertiary things. So primary things grab your attention, tertiary things detract from attention, actually. So it's kind of like a balance between this is where you want people to look. So I want this stage to be very important. So this is probably going to be a little bit more complicated and things are up here. The canvas will help. But over here is going to be a little bit more boring and plain. Now the lighting direction, I'm going to make it this way because that sort of puts things off. And that makes adding interest, for example. Now, this is a... I don't know if this is going too far, but I'm actually going to push it that way. And the reasons for that, bear with me on this, is people read left to right, generally speaking. So the concept of story to most people is left to right. So sort of having the shadow in that direction is kind of like aligned with one's psychology. I'm going to stick with that. I don't know how true that is. Sounds cool. Sounds like I know what I'm talking about. So I could charge like 3 times my normal price for that sentence. So I'm going to do that. All right. So we have our space and I don't mind that at all. A couple of things. First one, we need colliders. Or bounding boxes so our avatars don't fall through the ground. This is a relatively simple mesh, so I could, if I wanted to, and I've been known for picking on people for this, but you could add a mesh collider. So if you go down to add component, go mesh collider, that will work. But notice how this one is still red, but this one is green. This spawn point needs to be like 0.001 in the y-axis, which is up. Like it is literally anything above. Like it doesn't even do that. So yeah, we might tweak that eventually. So that's the main thing. Now we have a portal here. I don't want that there because that's a ridiculous place for a door. Although technically it's a portal. So what I might do with those ones is, for now, I'm just going to put it over here. Press F to zoom. No, that's good. And I could even sort of put another one or several, but I'll leave that for now. Get rid of red. Red's always been. This spawn point, I'm actually going to rotate 90 degrees that way. You can hold Control to snap. These numbers are always a little bit off in Unity. I don't know why. It's very frustrating. But yeah. I also don't want people to pop up in the middle. So I'm going to put it over here. So everyone turns up here and then they can go and see or get behind everyone at the stage. So that's cool. Now, so Mesh Collider is fine, but because I'm all about optimizing, I'm going to remove that. And I'm going to add some box colliders, which are much more performant. And for a very square environment like this, this is fine. With a Mesh Collider, you can have a optimized mesh as the collider, and then the higher polygon mesh as the visual. So let's have a look at that. So if you go mesh here, it has the plane. Now that plane is because this object is called plane, not 2D plane. So we have that. Now notice if I drag my asset, this one, onto here, it won't work because that's not the mesh. The mesh is the gridded object here. So if I had a more simple mesh, I could grab this element of it and drag it onto the main area. And that's a bit better. But box colliders. Done. So depending on your asset, it will kind of automatically do it. Now I don't want to put it on this because I want a little bit more control and clarity. So I'm going to create an empty game object. and call this colliders. Actually, I just want this to be main area colliders. And then we can add a component, and it's just there. And then we can tweak as we need to. So let's do that. Edit collider. You get the dots up here, up here. Yeah. Make sure it's thick if you can. That will help. So I find at least 20 centimeters is good. There's the floor. Now I could copy this, and then I can paste this, and then I can adjust again. So let's put this one at the end there. Here. Now I can't see where I'm doing, so I can go shaded wireframe. That's good. Copy this one. Paste as new. Move this over here. So. Now if I wanted to, and I'm gonna, just to show you can do it, I'm going to remove this one, and then I'm going to rotate those two. So there we go. Now we'll have to figure out how to get up there at some point later, but that's an option. So yeah, that's that. But this is how you have to rotate colliders. Unfortunately, we don't have rotation as any of the options on the transform. So if you want to rotate a collider or even put it at an angle, you would have to put that on its own asset and then rotate the asset. So you can do that. So I'm actually going to make this a little bit more organized and put these in here. And then I can just reduce that. There we go. Back to shaded. Now this one also needs colliders. So I'm gonna do a new one. Create empty. Add component box. Edit. That I forget what the height of a step is allowed to be. I think it's 25 centimeters, maybe. Very maybe. This is new because I want to do this one as well. Okay. Now we need to put all of these on the actual edge here, like so. All right, we have our space. Now, let's feel this out. So I'm going to save this, and I should have been doing that more often. Now, I forgot about this one. Went on a different direction. So on the Mona library, we have some tools. One of them is the AI material generator. So we have tutorials on that, but that allows you to use AI to generate textures for your space. Now, personally, I like using CCO textures because you can see the texture, what you're getting, but then other people will have the same texture. But if you're using an AI material generator, the chances of having anyone else having a similar material will be virtually zero. And it also allows you to create like a diffuse, a normal, a smoothness, all of that sort of stuff for you. So that is a super useful tool if you want to get into AI-driven textures. Just while we're at it, we have a light probe generator and a Vox file importer. I kind of want to get the light probe generator. Let's do that. So download all of that, go import. Remove. Okay, so let's go a new asset called light probes, just light probes. Up in Mona, I believe, we do have it is a light probe generator. It's a component. What is that? Okay. So the light probe generator basically creates a bunch of little lights. And this all is bounced off light mapping. We have tutorials on that as well. But I'm going to quickly sort of do... Yeah, maybe both. So we're going to do light probes, because what this does is it will dynamically light assets. It will dynamically light assets in an environment. According to the light mapping for dynamic objects. So light mapping allows you to create really nice lighting on textures, so the real-time lighting isn't used as much. Because real-time lighting is, once again, a performance hog. So we recommend like 1 or 2 real-time lights. But if you do light mapping, you can use as many as you want and bake them out to make them look good. So the light probes will take that light mapping information and put it into your environment. And at the moment we only have 1 light, so not so important. But adjust your settings to come up with whatever's best. So adjust how many and all of those sort of things. So we go generate. And this is a very large area with very little changing light. So you have, like, in these areas, there's maybe a little bit more. So the fact that there's some here is great. So this is quite a good thing for this kind of lighting. That said, we don't have much lighting. So if we put some more spotlights and stuff over here, that'll change. So I think we'll keep that as is, actually. Because that's fine. So let's go to lighting and do some lighting. So we'll see how the 1 light goes. I don't think it's going to be great. The thing is also, like, this is a real-time light. So I'm going to duplicate that one. Control D. Let's just call this ambient. Let's do baked. So add your light. Make it baked. Mixed is real-time and baked, but I'm just going to make baked this one. So that's going to be quite bright. So let's make this 0.5. And let's make the first one 0.8. 0.4 maybe. Okay. So this one, with real-time, will give shadows to dynamic objects. So your avatars, for example, will have a shadow underneath them, and that's great. But light maps do not have dynamic shadows, so they don't update. But with the light probes, we can at least light dynamic objects a little more accurately with performance as a main consideration. So that works. All right, back to lighting. New lighting settings. If you don't have lighting that's in the window, rendering lighting. Scene, new lighting settings. We have all these. I'm going to jump to progressive GPU because my GPU is pretty good, like a 2070. Although now we have 4090, so maybe it's not that good anymore. The first pass of these, because this takes time. Light mapping takes time. I will basically halve or quarter all of these. So let's go 16, 256, 128. Those three anyway. Everything else is fine. Light map resolution, there's not much there yet, so I can pump this up a little bit. But the more stuff you have, the more you need to do that. I will usually put that up to 2048. Ambient occlusion I will turn on, leave the rest of the thing. Usually leaves that to directional, I think. On my final version, I'll put everything back up and then put default to high resolution, but once again, just testing. Always, strong recommendation, always save before you hit light map. Light mapping does break things occasionally. So keep that in mind. Sometimes I would even back up your project before doing it if it's like very important or a particularly difficult light map. So if it's like has all of the stuff, then I would maybe save it, copy your project folder, and try it then. But this should be okay. Now, I'm going to shut up because this will take all of my processing and I'll start glitching. So I'll pull a really cool facial expression here so that it looks good. All right. Go. Ah, this is on me. Very important element of light mapping is that they need to have particularly contribute GI. But I will usually just click on the static. And that will sort of put all of these on. And then Unity will try to fix some of these things, as in optimize and all the rest of it. So the two things you need for light mapping is assets need to be set to static or contribute GI. And there's a lot of settings that you can tweak with what it does, but we're not going to go into that today. So these need to be set at static, and at least one light needs to be baked. And then this will work better. Once again, save. Make a cool face while it renders. Okay. So we go to baked light maps. Here we go. This is what we're looking at. Now, another thing to note, and this is very important as well if you're not doing secondary maps. So I should have done this. I've done this all wrong. So, if you click on your model, down the bottom here you have Generate Lightmap UVs. Now, luckily, with our lighting, it's actually done all right. But I am going to use Generate Lightmap UVs, and then Unity will try to pack a second UV map for all of the lighting. So that's quite a useful thing. You can make them... Sorry, that was there. Yep. And Generate Lightmap UVs. Apply. Okay. Now, the other thing to note, and you can see it here, for example, we have a shadow going in, but as... and all the light maps are broken because we changed the lighting, the light mapping. But polygons in a game engine are one-sided. So one side will cast shadows, but the other side will not. So for this, I'm actually going to cheat a bit. Shadowers. And I'm just going to add some simple boxes. So cube, get rid of the box collider because we don't need it. And then adjust as we need to. So another tool, I use this one. So you got scale, so you can go up there like that. But another one is like this one, which kind of like does a 2D tool that allows you to sort of move things around quicker sometimes, which is a nice feature. Now we kind of want, no, I'll have to do this. Now, this one, we also want to kind of cast shadows. I'm just going to put this on contribute GI. And then duplicate as need be. Now, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be, as long as it doesn't go in front of the wall. Everything else should be fine. So that's fine. Grab both of those. Control D to duplicate. Rotate. Good. And that'll cast, but we also need to put it on top here as well. But as we're running out of time, kind of, because I'll do 2 hours, hopefully to do 2 hours, I will leave it at that. I'm sure you get the idea. So, back to lighting. And let's do that again. Save. The other thing is, so we have a shadow there, I think. Actually, these ones I'm actually going to do. So let's grab this one. Duplicate. Nope. If you press the right box, you do this sort of thing. I always get in trouble for having it like this. Like, I prefer orthographic instead of perspective, but some people call me crazy. So once again, we kind of want to put that in there. But it also has to fit within the confines of seems to be in line. Once again, duplicate that. So we can rotate it that way. Looks like we need to move it a little way that way. Seems good. And might as well, hang on. So yeah, these are purely for shadows. They're not for anything else. So they're just boxes, basically. So that should work. All right. Save. Try again. We just want to check something. So this is an optimization thing. So all of these assets, for example, I don't want to be in the light map. So they can be light probes, but I do want them to be shadowed in the light map. So I'm hoping that this setup is the way to go. So I want them to cast shadows. I don't care if they receive shadows. I do want them to influence light maps and light probes. And then hopefully do that. So let's give that a shot. Ready. Now, if you select things, it sort of shows you where they are. So that can be useful if you're trying to figure out certain faults. But if you click on these, they're not in there. So that's what we want. So perfect. Now, I did notice something. This shadow goes across the stage. I don't want that because that is a distraction from what the stage is doing. That's too much complexity. So I'm actually going to grab our two lights, go top view, and rotate it a bit more. Now, notice that the angle won't allow me to do that. So I'm going to have to rotate that a bit as well. So do I want to do it? Do I? Because that'd be kind of interesting, actually. So I'm wondering. I don't. No, I think that's good. Now notice how this shadow is moving. This one is not. That's because that is baked, and this is like the real-time light. So that's a good example of the difference between the two. So I'm going to save that. Now, of course, in the future, I would add more lights around it and make it all look much better with lighting. And for that, you can just go right mouse click, light. And you have directional light, point light, spotlight, area light, which is a baking thing, makes really nice lighting. And light probe group, but our light probe group we did with the light probe generator. So when we light map, all of these little dots will have the color and light amount in that spot. And when your character runs across these, it'll change according to that. So it's very important to make your character fit in the environment. If you have them separate, like the lighting in the space and your character will be different lighting situations. So, yeah. Okay. So one more bake, and then we can test. I think. I hope. Maybe. Okay. Done. Now I want to make that a little bit more subtle. There's a lot of different approaches to it. But as we're nearly on exactly 2 hours, I'm going to give this a test run. Playground. Actually, I'm going to do a thing. Hang on. Yeah. Let's go to my original space. So this is one of the first spaces I did. This was last September, I think it was. Like last September, 2011. Now, the reason I'm doing this is because I would like to get my own avatar running around. So this took a little bit longer. But this is the scope of a Mona space. You can do a lot of cool stuff. So you could have... how did I do that? I've never done that. Huh. Interesting. Where am I going? I want to show you this. There it is. Ta-da! So yeah. With a bit more time, we can make some very interesting spaces. And the fact that this works on a website is just mind-blowing to me. So this is why I like what Mona's got. So I'm hoping, now that I've fixed my avatar, I can drag this in. There we go. This is a good space. I like this. The size of it's nice. You got that slash across there, but to be honest, I actually don't mind that. And we missed one thing, the most important thing. So let's put that in now. So we need the canvas. Luckily, canvases are very easy. So once again, artifacts. So here we need to go down to Mona assets. And then we have our canvas prefab. Now I could drag it in here, but I'm not going to. I'm actually going to drag it in artifacts here to make sure that it's in the right place to start. And then we just drag this over here, move it to where we want to. Once again, you don't want Z fighting, so put it a little bit forward maybe. Press F to zoom in on it. Now, note, I'm going to... There is a spawn point for canvases. We don't use that feature yet, but it is important to pass. So make sure this spawn point is somewhere that makes sense. I'm going to right mouse click and go prefab unpack, just so I don't have to worry about it trying to do things. So I'm actually going to put this sort of to the side. So if this feature ever gets added, then people will sort of turn up at the side. So what we want. Okay, now, key thing with canvases, very important. The canvas prefab needs to be under artifacts. Each canvas needs to be its own canvas. So you would have like 5 canvases down here if you wanted to. Canvases allow images and video streaming at the moment. We'll be adding movies or video soon. Note, you can only have one live stream though, just bandwidth. So keep that in mind. This asset is probably the key one. So unique canvas name _1. Now, if you can guess, this object needs a unique canvas name. So let's call this stage screen. That works. Notice how it has a canvas tag, so that needs to be there. Spawn, we've sorted. Frame assets is an optional thing. You can put like a frame in it if you wanted to. Note that if you had, there's two options. You can scale the canvas to the image or the media, or the media can sort of crop to the canvas. So it depends on what you're doing. But if you add a frame or any other assets around it, those will not scale. So keep that in mind. Now, when it comes to scale, though, do not scale the canvas prefab, scale the stage screen. Now, we want this to be 16 by 9 because most streams are that. So I'm going to do 1.6. Well, no, let's do 0.16. 0.9? No. 0.09. There we go. Okay. So that's the right ratio, and then we can scale that up to whatever we feel it should be. So it should be very big. Like so. Okay. Now I could, if I wanted to, and I kind of do. Let's do it, because it'll be quick. I want to sort of embed this into... So I'm kind of quickly going to do that, because that'll be cool. So scale down. And scale X, nope, scale Y. Now for this one, I'm going to need a reference because I don't know what the screen size is. So I'm just going to quickly add a cube. Quickly make it... That's, yep, and then 0.9. That's what we want. That, scale that up to be about... there. Now, the thing is, I actually kind of want to cheat this a little bit because I needed to go up. And I'm not going to put it into the ceiling there. So I'm going to do that. What? Scale up. Scale Y. And E a little bit to like there. You can put the frame in front of it. Once again, because we've edited a bit, this is all wrong. So I'm going to Control A, all transforms, select all, Smart UV project. Book. Now, if I recall, we want this to be that way. That works. And save again. Okay. And then we can move this, hopefully, a little bit in like that. Scale it down a little bit, I suppose. Once again, make sure it's the right one. We also want that to have the sort of the white material. It already is. So that's a... I think that's because we messed with the thing. I think the light map doesn't work. So we're gonna have to rebake that, and then it'll be done. Cool. That'll be it. Yeah. Right. It seems we're back on top of it. So yes, that is a prime example of Unity not liking light mapping. So, and sometimes if you cancel or collapse a light map, you will like it has issues. So you really don't want that to happen. That said, I'm going to try again and hope for the best. But basically, actually, we probably won't. Well, let's just jump into the playground and we'll see how that goes. Yeah, let's just do that. So we've got our canvas. One thing I will do though is I'm going to go to my canvas material, and we have shader. I'm going to make this unlit texture, and that will create more of a LED result. So it's always going to be bright. So you can have standard, which uses light probes for its lighting. So if you want lit spaces, you can do that. But on the flip side, if you want a screen, then I would recommend changing this to unlit texture. So we have that. All right. So let's go save and then playground. And that'll be it for today's stream. We have that there. We have that there. Ah, the camera is behind the wall. So that's what's happening there. Okay. So as you can see, we have coming soon. Actually, let's go bigger. We have coming soon. Soon. So that could be a live stream. That could be kind of whatever you want, really. Now, the different color there, I think, is a light mapping thing. So I'm not going to try and fix that on the grounds that it broke. So imagine that looking cool. The other option is I actually make the stage part of the environment, and then that texture would go all the way down. I might actually end up doing that, to be honest. These are a bit dark, so I would probably change the lighting a bit. But for the most part, like, it's definitely looking like a space. And this session has basically covered a lot of content in regards to optimization, material development, space design, like light mapping, light probes. This is a lot. Trying to see if I can show you an example of... Yeah, see, that's just the light map situation. Like, not the light map, the real time. So yeah, there's that. All right, let's go up here to finish. So today, I would like to wrap up our discussion, giving a presentation to all of the people behind me. Thanks for watching. Hope you learned a lot. If you have any questions, of course, jump into the Discord, jump into our docs. I'll bring them up again here because they're super useful. And once again, getting started at Get Started and then adding all of the tools that we have access to. So you've got some of the features that we looked at today. So colliders, quickly looked at portals, I guess, canvases, which we added. And then we also have like video live streaming, but that is on the canvas part of it, which is on the wallet of the Monoverse. So when you upload your space to your wallet, you would have access to link your canvas, and it shows the name. So mine would be, what was it, mainstream or something. So link, put in my information, adjust the scale if you wanted to, and then you have live streaming, like how to live stream using LivePeer or OBS, for example. Other things include everything, to be honest. So we have the AI material generator, which we were just talking about, light probe generator, which we used, and then we looked at improving your space. So adding light maps, which we looked at. Reflection probes allow you to sort of bake reflections into a texture, and that gets projected onto the environment around it. So that's super useful for creating metallic objects. Didn't cover that because it was a bit much. We were getting a lot of content in there. animation, warp volume, so allowing you to jump around your space. Reactor allows you to create interactive elements, so creating an environment to trigger an animation event. So that's super powerful. Lots of stuff on that one. Audio, you name it. Down here also, and I've mentioned a couple of times that optimizing your space is very important when it comes to a WebGL space. So prefabs is half optimization, but also just using the space quickly. But yeah, optimizing your mesh. So ways to do that. Trim sheets, which is optimizing your materials. So this one material was used for this whole asset. So this would be one draw call, which is very small. But if you had normal materials, you would have 1, maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 materials, which is a lot more. So I find trim sheets a really useful tool, to the point that, like, say for example, this person, where's the audio? This is like, what was it? This is very, very few textures in the whole space. Very super intelligent use of it. Like, I don't know how they've done it. It's crazy. But you can do some crazy stuff with this. So super useful. And then optimizing your space. So level of detail, optimizing draw calls, texture compression, stuff like that. There are many ways to optimize your space. And it just takes a while to learn them all. But it's pretty good resources to help you on that journey. And yeah, by optimizing, that allows you to create like kind of bigger, more impressive spaces that run really well. So that's a very good skill. All right. Okay, we're going to call it there. Have a good day and happy building.